first of all, I stopped going to Hoffer House 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it was over 2 years ago at this point because it was the summer of 2019. I was single and I was doing my thing and I'm seeing women. I'm dating them. I'm going on dates. Like, we're having a great time. And I met a girl there for happy hour. And it was like either our first or our second date. I want to say it was like our first date. So we're sitting at the giant bar in the middle of the room and there's no other patrons in there except for the few people that are at the bar. Their entire dining room behind us is empty. And then out of nowhere, this family of 5, white mom, white dad, 3 little white kids, and they all walk in and they sit down and they're eating their food and they're minding their goddamn business as they should be. Mm-hmm. And it's like the middle of the week, like a Wednesday. This girl I was seeing, she was a teacher. Mm-hmm. And she ran like a summer program at the school that she worked for during the day, which meant it was early. Mm-hmm. So it was, I don't know, maybe 3:30 when we got there. Happy hour started at 4 or 5. I can't remember. But I don't know her like that. And she's super cool. We're still cool to this day. But again, I don't know her like that to be all over her and like all in her face and like that didn't happen. That did not happen. That's not what took place. But I think she may have either pecked me on the cheek or done like a cute little kiss on the lips. Right. I didn't stick my tongue down her throat. She was not playing grab ass under the bar, like none of those things. Right. No lewd and lascivious behavior took place.
Good word.
And the bartender comes over after we've been putting money in her pocket. We've made friends with the people around the bar. And what's funny is it was actually, he was a Muslim man, and I forget where he was from, but he was brown. Okay. You know, I love my brown counterparts. Like we love them. Right. So we start talking to him, we gravitate toward him, and then he reveals that he's in school somewhere locally to get his law degree specific to cannabis and marijuana law. So that was exciting. And both me and this girl, we smoke weed and we talked about smoking weed with this man, and we're talking about the legalities and the ins and outs of it. And we've been putting money in this bartender's pocket for 2 hours probably at this point. Right. And she walks over and she's like, hey, I just have to ask you guys to stop with like all the PDA because it's just, this is a family restaurant and da-da-da-da-da-da. I said, wow. I'm sorry, what? So I asked for clarification and she said, yeah, you're just making some of the other patrons uncomfortable. And me being the kind of person that I am, I turn around to that one table in the dining room and I said, you mean I'm making them uncomfortable? Yeah. And I point at these folks. Because they were the only ones in there. And they look at me. Yeah, they're the only other people there. And the like 4 or 5 people that are sitting around the bar they are enjoying our conversation. They are participating in happy hour with us, which their happy hour is great. The beers are half off, booze is half off. So we are having a great time. We're not spending a lot of money. Everybody around the bar is feeling great and they're feeling us. So I know it was them. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you because I realize that this probably has nothing to do with you and everything to do with a complaint that your manager received and then asked you to relay. Tell your manager that she needs to come and speak to me personally. So the manager comes out. She walks out behind the bar. The bartender walks toward the back. And she's just like, yeah, this is a family restaurant. She said pretty much verbatim what the bartender said, which is how I know those words came from her mouth first. She's like, yeah, this, that, and the third. If you don't like it, you can leave. And I said, I don't like it. I will leave. But I want you to know that this kind of homophobic and borderline racist behavior doesn't fly in my book. And myself nor anyone else that I know that I love that cares about me and loves me is ever going to frequent your establishment again. Now, you might not care about that, but I want you to keep this in mind. And I walk out. I gave the bartender a $50 bill and I said, take it. And don't you dare give them a red cent. Don't give them shit. You leave that tab unpaid. It is their job to deal with it since they kicked me out, right? So I give the bartender that money and I say, keep it. Don't give it back to me and do not spend it to cover my fucking tab. Don't. So she's like, all right, heard. Because she took care of us. She was nice to us. And I know the only reason that she even ended up being forced to be put through what she had to go through is because somebody else told her that she had to do it. So I'm not even mad at the bartender, but the manager pissed me off. So I walk out the door and she's like chasing me down with the tab in her hand. Wait, you didn't pay your bill. And I said, you don't want my gay ass money. you don't want it.
Right.
You don't want my money.
Right.
Because if you wanted my money, you would have been amenable to adaptation, and you were not. And they were being homophobic, and you subscribed to that, and that's not how I would have handled the situation, nor any other person who has respect for other people's identification or whatever the case may be, especially because we weren't really doing anything.
Right.
They were being homophobic.
That's what it comes down to, because at the end of the day, you know, if we're talking about a man or woman, two men, or a woman, like whatever the situation is, now this is me. First of all, thank you for sharing the story.
Oh my God, absolutely. Especially since all this stuff started happening with Barrel and Flow. Like, I've been telling people to stop going there for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I don't care.
Well, no, I appreciate it, because people need to know. And and I want to do this in a respectful way that honors, that doesn't make it seem like in any way what happened to you was your fault, because it wasn't your fault. Mm-mm. But I do feel like if it was what you said we weren't doing, if it was that, then I can understand. For me, I can understand the manager or somebody saying something, and it didn't even have to come from someone else if it was that bad.
Yeah.
But we know what public drunkenness looks like. We know what it looks like if someone is bothering other customers. Mm-hmm. If you were walking over, if you were putting your arm around them, if you wouldn't leave, if you didn't obey any social cues. Right. But if you're just sitting there and you just sit like a peck on the lips, which is really quick, and like you said, because you don't get down like that, especially not in public.
I'm not saying I don't get down like that, and I'm also not saying I don't do it in public. But what I will say is I don't know her.
Right.
Like, this was not the time for that.
And that's not what you were doing.
Not the environment for that. And I absolutely understand social decorum and responsibility.
You got that.
I don't want to tongue down my girlfriend in front of your children.
Right.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
That feels disrespectful, and I wouldn't do it in front of my own children.
Right.
Or in front of somebody else's children who I'm friends with, or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to do it. If I wouldn't do it in front of my grandma, I'm not going to do it out here. Right. So if this is a family environment, then I'm going to temper my actions and my behavior to suit that.
Right.
The problem was they made a homophobic complaint.
Yeah.
And instead of brushing them off or even being like, listen, the family behind you has a problem with the fact that y'all are sitting here together. Now, I don't care, but maybe tone it down a couple notches until they leave. Mm-hmm. I would have been like, thanks for looking out, bruh. And probably still gave the bartender $50 and walked out.
Right. Because I agree with you. That should never get back to you. That should never, if anything, they should have told them, like, hey, this is a free place. They're not doing anything. And even if, because, and this is what I want you to touch on. We got it. You're a black gay woman. I want you to put on your managerial hat. I want you to put on, let's say, regardless of what your identity is, let's say you are the manager of Hofbräu House, right, and a similar situation is going on, and that family makes a complaint to you that obviously is rooted in homophobia, but they make it to you and you have to deal with it. Regardless of where it comes from, you still got to deal with it in real time. Sure. So I would like for you, let me lower my voice a little bit. I would like for you to say, how would you have handled that situation? Or how do you think it should be? I
probably would have handled it the exact same way that you just explained.
Okay.
Hofbräu House is a multi-million-dollar a year corporation and industry that operates in so many different places that they have the ability to lose customers and it not be a big deal. So I would have known at the helm of an operation like that I had one of two choices. I could be respectful of the people at the bar, or I could pander to the desires of this family in the dining room. And I've been in some really screwed up management situations, and I was the assistant general manager for Pennsylvania's largest craft brewery with one of the largest distribution networks. They're still small enough to be considered craft, but they are also German. They are also German food, the German beer recipes. Like, they are very, very specific in their niche, and they don't deviate from that at all. Now, in those situations, I would specifically address what the person's concern was. And if the concern was, if it was fair and if it was valid, then I would address it. And if let's just say, for instance, if their PDA made me uncomfortable, then I would address that.
As the manager.
As the manager.
Right.
But also, if I can't check my blackness at the door. Like, I can't check my gayness at the door. I can absolutely not make a political statement here. I can absolutely make a decision to remain in a professional headspace and not alienate the business that I represent, because it is a white presenting business. It's German oriented.
Let me, all right, just so I'm on the same page here, I gotta go back to some of the details of the story.
Yeah.
So the family complains. They complain. The waitress or whatever, she talks to the manager. The manager tells the waitress to come and talk to y'all. All right. So with that, when the waitress came out first, who said? I'm pretty sure it was the manager. Was it the manager that said, if you don't like it, you can leave? Because that's the part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the bartender came over first and was like, hey, like, I really have to ask you guys to stop displaying so much affection, this, that, and the other thing. Like, I don't remember exactly what she said, because again, this is the summer of 2019 we're talking about here.
Right.
And so much trauma has happened since then and now with everything that happened in 2020 that I am not going to pretend like I remember exactly what she said to me.
Right.
But I know for a fact that I wasn't being disgusting. Like, I know for a fact that nothing that I did.
Because we know what disgusting is, regardless of what a person's sexual orientation is.
Precisely.
We all know what disgusting is.
Exactly.
We all know what it looks like when a husband and wife that are just happy to be around each other, they kiss all the time.
Yes, they do.
All the time.
And having been somebody that works in situations where people get intoxicated for a living, that is how I sustain myself. That's how I've paid my bills since I was a kid.